All right, we have news on the recruiting front. Good news. Other interesting things happening, good and bad. We'll get to all of that in just a minute. Of course, I'm going to tell you, in case you don't know, this is WVU Football Going Deep. I am Forrest Poston. Appreciate you watching. Please subscribe, share, comment, click the thumbs up button, click the notification bell, and tell your friends. Couple of real quick notes off of football. First of all, for those who have seen the video about Natasha, the medications have kicked in and she is on an upward trend, which we also hope means Raucus will be on an upward trend as well. They both evidently have a fungal infection. Okay, it's a much longer story, but I won't go into the rest of it. Thanks for those who've been able to help. Meanwhile, I am also very tired, not really well focused, so I apologize for that. I'm running on about 3 hours sleep per night for the last week. More long story, won't go into it. Now, football, that I'll go into. Did a video about some possible upcoming recruiting news, and we have clicked on one. Wilnerson Telemaque has announced his commitment on X, Twitter, social media, and that does look to be very good news. He's between 6'5" and 6'6", about 255 pounds at the moment. Defensive line, where he'll play on the defensive line will probably vary, depending a lot on just how much weight he adds. Right now, he lives on his quickness. So, of course, the trick will be adding good weight and strength without losing the quickness. And we have staff who can do that. But this makes the 2025 defensive line look really good. Telemaque, now, in terms of his rating by the various organizations, it's a pretty wide range. 24/7 Sports isn't impressed, and Rivals has him within a hair's breadth of being a 4-star. I think they list him as the number 25 defensive line in the country, defensive lineman. So we'll see what we actually get. But yeah, I'm not basing my opinion on these recruiting services anyway. So it's just interesting to note. His offer list ran to 2 pages and included a whole heck of a lot of P4 schools, including Pitt, Syracuse, a couple of old rivals, Wisconsin, Maryland, another old rival, and many more. Now, the downside. He came to one of the recruiting camps this past summer and became a silent commit pretty much immediately. But, was going to still visit some other schools, including Wisconsin. And he went to Wisconsin and committed to Wisconsin, and actually publicly committed to Wisconsin. And it was like, okay, we'll see how that goes. And I guess it's been a couple of weeks ago, he decommitted, and possibly, more Wisconsin's choice than his. It's not really clear. Does seem like he was still kind of courting schools. So, okay, yeah, he's what, at this point, 17? So, still kind of taking advantage of this situation, hasn't settled. is he now settling since he came back to, West Virginia, where he sort of started? And hopefully that means that he says, okay, yeah, wait, got it right this time. And he'll come in, work hard, do all those kinds of things. But he does seem to be a bit, let's say rambunctious. I think that's the most polite way to describe a 17-year-old's behavior. But talent, yes. And given that the coaching staff can include character in their entire recruiting process, I think they probably have a pretty good read on him. And I'm sure they're aware that he's not perfect. Not many, if any, are. But this is going to play out very well. Still looking probably for another defensive back. Somebody to replace Quisenberry, which means somebody with wiggle, somebody who makes you miss. I want to say in the mold of Gallagher and Farmer, but neither of them have as yet had the opportunity to really show us that particular ability. But now, if you're wondering, because of the size that the 2025 recruiting class is growing to, keep in mind we no longer have the 85 scholarship limit. It is now a 105 total roster limit. So in terms of bringing in guys with scholarships, we have a lot more room. So we will be able to bring more of these guys in. Question remains how to handle walk-ons. It's looking more and more like they're just going to make this a hard set very first year 105 limit, which means most of the current walk-ons at WVU will be gone, which sucks rocks. Well, it sucks rocks just in terms of, the walk-on program being such a big part of West Virginia history. It does mean we, may sign more higher quality players. Maybe not. But in terms of bringing guys in to develop, less likely. Now, other news you may or may not have heard. West Virginia has bought their way out of a game that was scheduled with East Carolina in 2026. They have now scheduled Virginia in 2026 and 2032, something like that. One of those was with a long gap between the first and second game. The 2026 game will be down in North Carolina, neutral site. There's talk of more changes in the schedule over those next few years? We'll see how it all plays out. And on the injury front, good news is Milam will play. Bad news, Green still questionable. Coach Brown said that he was expected to throw some this week. People have been talking about it being a concussion. I don't think that would have meant he couldn't throw. Coach Brown had said upper body. I think that is probably the more accurate. Of course, it could be upper body and a concussion. I don't know. But if he's just starting to throw this week, the odds of being ready, no. Certainly not going to start. Could he play in a pinch would be the question. Mark Ill will start. Ryder Burton will be number 2. And I believe Khalil Wilkins, our true freshman, will be number 3. Whether or not Green will be available, don't know. But hopefully you don't get in a position where you would need to toss him in if he's not truly ready. Whether or not he'll be ready next week is still, we just got to see how it plays out. Burks, Bray, and Garnes are all still out. And just annoying that we never get any official specific information on the nature of injuries, all the privacy nonsense. There's a limit, but that's not my choice. Now, various social media, you're seeing people claiming that Green, Burks, and perhaps Bray are willfully sitting out. Not injured, just sitting out. Now, these people have no evidence. Some of them are just stating it as fact. Well, we all know this is true. When you say that, you've pretty well given up any legitimacy. It's their opinion, and therefore to them it's true. Now, that kind of, I don't even want to call it thinking. It really irritates me. And what evidence we do have says that is crap. It's a very ignorant thing to say, because neither Green nor Burks have any options left to play college ball. They're out of time. This is it. These last 4 games are their last 4 games, or plus a bowl game potentially. Both would be playing for opportunities to play in the NFL. They don't. If they are out these 4 games, their stock drops. And I mean, Burks could have been playing for like a mid-round pick. If he's out, he's undrafted free agent. Same for Green. He was playing for the opportunity to be drafted as a quarterback, which was getting to be a little iffy, but he could have still done it. Neither of them have incentive to sit out. Plus, both love football. Now, Green, with Green, we know he's a competitor. Yeah, so the idea that he would willfully sit out rather than play is just a stupid thing to say. Yeah, but I have noticed that people do sometimes say stupid things. I think I said one myself once, twice maybe, or thereabouts. But it just sucks that they are missing key games, key for the team, key for them personally. And I mean, I didn't mention Bray just because, we don't know anything. Yes, he does have a year left. In theory, he could choose to sit out, but there's no real reason for him to do so. It just doesn't benefit him. It is really just a way for these fans to take shots at Coach Brown. That's what they're doing. They're taking shots at Brown, and they're just using the players. So, all right. We have the Cincinnati game coming up this week, noon Eastern. We know what the keys are, and the biggest one is the defensive backfield. How will they play in their first game under Coons? Coons brings a very different energy. How will that affect the players? How will it affect Shadon Brown and the other defensive back coaches? All of this is factoring in. We do not know how We did not get any great insight in the press conferences this week. We will just have to wait and see. Okay, guys, thanks for dropping in. I have to go feed cats, do some other cat stuff, and see if somewhere in there I can squeeze in a nap. So long.